Alright guys, what I have here is a 1988 635 CSI, and what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be replacing the fuel pump that's inside the gas tank. And I've got a replacement unit from Airtex fuel pumps. I got this off of Parts Geek, and it's a lot cheaper than anywhere else you're going to find this fuel pump for this car. It was only $105. Everywhere else the fuel pump's going about $200 to $500. So if you need a fuel pump for your E24, get it from partsgeek.com. So let's go ahead and put this in and see how it works. Alright, so your first step is going to be to go ahead and empty out your trunk. Then go ahead and remove the top layer of carpet or whatever else you have to reveal the spare wheel and everything. Alright, so once you have the carpet removed, on the passenger side, you're going to see this black plate that is covering the fuel pump underneath. So you're going to have to remove these 3 Phillips screws and then pull the plate off. Make sure you take this gasket off as well so you don't lose it. Now you can see the fuel pump. So as you can see, I've already removed the clamps that were on these hoses. They're going to be these one-time use clamps by BMW. So they're going to have this little ring in it first, and this ring will cover on top of there, actually clamping it down. So what you want to do is you want to remove this top ring with a flathead. Just use a mallet or something, pull that ring, push it forward. So push it this way, and then this little ring will pop off, and go ahead and pull that out. So once you have these 2 rings removed, we're going to go ahead and remove this section first. So these are going to be held in with 8mm nuts. There's 4 of them. First you're going to have to undo this connector. There's no clips on it, you just pull it straight off. Just like that. Now let's go ahead and remove these 4 nuts. So after you remove the nuts, there's also going to be 4 washers that are still on each stud. Go ahead and pull those washers off and make sure you clean the surrounding area. That way when we lift this section out, no dirt goes into the fuel. Once you have all 4 of the washers off as well, we can go ahead and lift this assembly out. Just like that. You might want to have a rag to catch any of the fuel that comes out. Alright, you're also going to want a new gasket that goes with that assembly. That way whenever you replace, this is the actual fuel pump right here. Whenever you replace that, you can go ahead and put a new gasket on and then put the cylinder back in. Let's go ahead and undo this connector as well. This is for the actual fuel pump, and it also just pulls straight off. Now let's go and undo these lines. I'm just going to use a flathead and just push them back. Now that we have both of those lines off, let's go ahead and remove these 6 8mm screws. Once we have those off, then we can go ahead and pull the fuel pump out. Once you have all of the bolts out, we're going to want to go ahead and clean up the area, make sure it's clean, and then go ahead and pull the fuel pump out. Just like that. And go ahead and set it up on a rag, that way you don't drip any fuel anywhere else. Now that we have that out, make sure you go ahead and remove your old seal. Here's the new pump. Alright, so along with the new pump, they also gave us a new seal for the fuel pump itself, a new gasket for the sending unit, which is this cylinder thing that we removed. That's a fuel level sending unit. And we've got all the new nuts and washers for the fuel sending unit as well. First, let's go ahead and put this fuel pump gasket in. Line it up with all the holes. Go ahead and put the fuel pump in. Make sure you might have to move these hoses around to get it to sit properly. I went ahead and got the gasket seated properly, as well as the fuel pump, and went ahead and put 2 bolts in. That way everything will stay secure. You're gonna have to replace the clamp for both hoses. So let me go ahead and get those 2 clamps, and then we're gonna go ahead and put these hoses back on and clamp them down. we'll put the fuel level sending unit back in with the new gasket and go ahead and put the rest of the bolts in and plug everything in. I'm gonna go ahead and put the clamp on the hose first, or you could go ahead and slide the clamp on here, get the hose on, go ahead and slide the clamp on. Right. Let's go ahead and get the other hose on. Alright, so the clamp is on there on both hoses, nice and tight. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the screws back in, and then I'll go ahead and put the fuel level sending unit in and plug everything in. Alright, so I went ahead and got all the bolts secured. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the O-ring on the fuel level sending unit and then put that in. Alright, so I finally got the seal on there after like 10 minutes of fiddling with it. But at least it's on there now. Let's go ahead and put this back in. Alright, so now I went ahead and put these nuts on. I'm going to go ahead and secure those down and then go ahead and plug these sensors in. And then we'll put the little gasket in first and then the cover on top. Let's go ahead and plug the sensors back in. Put the 3 Phillips screws back in and you are good to go. There we have it. Alright guys, so that's it for this DIY. As you saw, I went ahead and replaced the fuel pump inside the tank. If you're having problems with fuel delivery, I'll start off with the fuel pump that's underneath the car, which is the main fuel pump. The one that we replaced is called the pre-pump, and it pulls all the gas out from the tank and sends it to the actual fuel pump. And from there it goes to the fuel filter and then on. What I usually do is I like to replace all 3 of them at the same time, so the fuel pump, the pre-pump, and the filter. What we replaced today was a pre-pump. That's the most expensive one. The fuel pump itself is like $80. The one that's the main fuel pump is $80, and then the fuel filter is like 10 bucks. So I'll have separate DIYs on doing the fuel filter and the main fuel pump as well. So if you guys want to stay tuned for those DIYs, they'll be linked down below and they'll be uploaded soon. So thanks for watching guys, and stay tuned for more videos.